Hey. Oh, I'm live now. Okay. Sorry, guys. This is Dr. Joe. I'm back online, and there was some technical issues, and so I think we resolved it. So hopefully you can hear me. Let me know if you can hear me, and if you can, we're good. If you can't, then just let me know in the chat box. So let me get going. I apologize. So today we're going to talk about. Let me get my stuff together. Um, we're going to talk about renting versus buying, making the right choice for your situation. What makes sense for you, and what doesn't make sense for you. I'm going to turn this mic down. Hold on a second. Okay, there you go. Yeah, so that's what we're going to talk about: is the renting versus buying, the pros and cons, what makes the most sense for you, and what makes the most sense for me. And it's an interesting topic because it depends on your situation, and so I'm kind of going to do a deep dive, and then we'll go from there. So before I get too far, I'm glad that you bore with me through these technical issues, and I'm looking forward to this session. So let's have a look. Where we go. So why is it crucial for real estate investors to understand the difference between renting and buying? Understand the difference really is it's important because we need to, as investors, try to figure out how to maximize our potential investments. And the decision to rent versus buy has a major impact on your portfolio if you're going to have one, your financial stability, and overall strategy. Let me hold on a second. Let me just see if I can turn this down. Okay, sorry about that. And so it's going to make a huge difference in terms of how things play out for you. And this knowledge, once you acquire it, well, once you decide what you're going to do, it'll help you allocate the limited monies that you have, optimize cash flow, and hopefully enhance your long-term growth potential. We all know that in the U.S., one of the biggest factor in determining our net worth is ownership of real estate. And you can save, obviously, as much as you can, but in my opinion, you have to invest in order to build wealth. And real estate, in most areas anyway, has proven to be a time-tested vehicle to building wealth and financial independence. But some people, I was listening to a podcast the other day where they were singing the praises of not owning anything, renting everything, and even so, just even what do you call it? Don't buy real estate, but just buy securities. So they aren't a proponent of owning real estate. So I'm going to talk about that, the pros and cons of that approach, and the pros and cons of owning real estate, and then figure out what's the best use of your limited monies that you have in terms of resource allocation, and then kind of go through some of the lessons learned from successful and unsuccessful investors. So, we all know that renting a home and buying a home come with its own set of advantages and disadvantages. For instance, renting can provide flexibility and lower upfront costs, while buying can offer long-term equity growth and stability. But understanding the nuances will help you best decide which approach makes the most sense, and so on. So let's just get down to it. We're going to start with the benefits of renting first. Why you should consider just renting, not even owning anything. So we're going to talk about that. Some people have that viewpoint, and therefore we're going to talk about what are the key benefits of renting properties for real estate investors. What are the advantages? We all know that renting properties offers several advantages. For real estate investor, one of the things, as I mentioned earlier on, is flexibility. Renting allows you and I to adapt quickly to changing market conditions without really the long-term commitment that real estate tends to afford. This flexibility, it's helpful, especially in sort of volatile situations, volatile markets, where property values can fluctuate. Real estate doesn't always go up; it goes through ups and downs, and sometimes of the life cycle, we go through a lot of market volatility, a lot of market, situation where it's just not predictable. And so renting additionally requires obviously a lower upfront cost, as opposed to, you don't need a large down payment. All you need for the most part is a first month's rent and the first month's security deposit. So it does allow you to move into a property with lower amounts of money. And this lower amount of money, it frees up your capital, for other investment opportunities, and also allows you to diversify your portfolio as well. So there are benefits to that. By avoiding large down payments and mortgage commitments, investors can maintain a greater level of flexibility and greater liquidity and financial agility. Okay, flexibility, liquidity, agility. TTT. So real estate, renting obviously shifts many of the responsibilities, such as property maintenance and repairs, to the landlord and away from the tenant. So there are some advantages, as you can see, and it does allow you to, for those people who want a hands-off approach, they don't want to deal with headaches, tenants, toilets, or whatever it is. This is a way to to avoid all that stuff. So what are the action items? Assess where you are in terms of market volatility. Calculate how much money you need to either move into a property to rent or a property to buy, and also evaluate your management preferences. Some people are okay with managing properties, managing people. Some people are just not. They don't have the right temperament, the right skill sets, and so forth. Okay, so that's number one, the benefits of renting. And so let's talk about owning. The drawbacks or the downsides of renting. Okay, so we talked about the pluses. Let's talk about some of the negatives. So what are the potential drawbacks of renting properties for for real estate investors? What are the drawbacks of renting? Okay, we talk about that. So while renting can offer several benefits, it also comes obviously with some downsides, drawbacks that you may want to consider. One of them is obviously the lack of equity in building. You don't build wealth. You don't get the benefits of appreciation. You obviously are just paying rent, which then goes to somebody else, and they build equity. They pay down their mortgage. They take advantage of the appreciation of the asset. They have the tax benefits and so forth. So somebody else is getting all that, not you. Unlike owning, renting does not allow you to build equity over time, as I just mentioned, and therefore you are missing out on one of the greatest vehicles to build wealth, which is appreciation of property values. And renting can also it gives you less control over the property. If the landlord doesn't want to fix things, if the landlord wants you out of there, if the landlord wants to give you a 30-day notice, you gotta go. And and so on. So there are some drawbacks to that, and obviously you have a rental agreement, you have a lease with somebody else, and they dictate the terms and conditions, and they decide if they want to make improvements to the property, not you. They get the benefits of that. If they are a landlord from hell, then it is what it is. Not all landlords take care of their responsibilities. If you're a tenant, you pretty much have to put up with it, or you give your notice and go find somebody else, and hopefully you'll find somebody who's better. but you may also not. Okay, and the other thing is, I mean, you're more subject to market events that you have no control over. So if the landlord wants to sell the house, you got to leave. If this landlord wants to not fix the house, you don't have much say. So there's a lot of uncertainty that goes with drawbacks of renting. Okay, so what are the action items about that? Evaluate equity if that's important to you. Evaluate whether property control is important to you, and and so on. So let's go to number 3, which is now we're going to talk about the benefits of buying real estate. Okay, we talked about the benefits and the downsides of renting. Now we're going to talk about the benefits and downsides of owning. Okay, so the question becomes, what are the key benefits of buying properties for real estate investors? You know me, I'm a proponent of this. But as I said, there are situations where it may not make sense. There are some people that have a very different opinion about this. And so, so let's just dive in. So buying properties offers several significant benefits for real estate investors like you and I. One of the primary advantages, obviously, is the potential for long-term equity growth. You got paid out of the mortgage, and therefore you build equity that way. And you got the benefits of a property appreciation as time goes by. So you get the benefits of all that. This equity buildup can be leveraged for future investments or used to enhance your financial situation. Ownership allows you greater control over the property. You can decide when to make improvements or not. You get the benefits of all that. And if you want to rent, you can do that. If you want to increase the rent, you can do that. If you want to, change the terms and conditions, you can do all that, assuming that your local laws allows all that stuff. And you have more control over tenant satisfaction, building a relationship with your tenants, managing the property, and so forth. Additionally, owning the properties has significant tax benefits. We all know about that depreciation. And you can also, deduct things like property taxes, expenses, certain expenses anyway. And it's a business. So there are, benefits of owning the business, especially a tangible business with tangible assets, and so on. So these are some of the benefits about owning real estate. And then we're going to talk about some of the downsides. How about that? But before we get to that, let's just say we are right with what we do. If you've got any questions that you want to put in the chat box, please put them there, and I will get to them in about 15 minutes. Anything to do with real estate, and if you've got concern, problems, questions that you are dealing with, please put them in the chat box, and I'll do the best that I can to answer them. I'm trying to shift the Wealth Wednesdays more towards taking action, as opposed to just consuming content. I'm trying to encourage you and I and others to take action, because you can't YouTube your way to financial independence. At some point, you're going to have to pull the trigger. It's scary. It's intimidating. Things can go wrong. I want to be a resource. I want this Wealth Wednesdays to be a resource that helps you, that you can sort of tap into when you have situations. And I want to be a resource that you can tap into my 35 years worth of experience. I've made every single mistake you can think of. And there's really no reason why you should recreate the wheel. So I'm a resource that I'd like to be able to offer to everybody. And as you pursue your real estate journey. So if that's interesting, you can always book a one-on-one with me. You can go to my website, joeasamoah.com, www.joeasamoah.com, press the Ask Dr. Joe button, and then you can book a one-on-one with me. I've had quite a few. I've had about several this week, and I had one today, in fact. A very, very good session. I got one yesterday, and I got another one tomorrow. So yeah, it's really good. I think every session I've had, it's always been a net positive. It's always exceeded people's expectations. So why recreate the wheel if you don't have to? A wise man learns from other people's mistakes. A genius learns from other people. A wise man learns from his mistakes. A genius learns from other people's mistakes. So the idea here is, why learn from your mistakes if you don't have to make mistakes? Learn from my mistakes. So hopefully you can get to where you need to go to a lot faster. Okay, so again, if you got some questions, please put them in the chat box, and I'll try to answer them very, very shortly. So let's talk about some of the drawbacks of buying real estate for investing purposes. And the question then becomes, what are the potential drawbacks of buying properties for real estate investors? So, so while obviously buying properties has its many benefits, it also presents some potential drawbacks that you need to be aware of as you move forward. One of the main disadvantages is the high upfront cost. Purchasing a house, especially these days, it can be very expensive. You typically have to have 20% down. Depending on the type of mortgage you're getting or financing you're going to get, you may be 5%, 10%, 15, 20%, 25% down. And real estate is not cheap anymore in most places. So, if it's a $100,000 property, you're going to need $5, 10, 15, 20, $25,000 up front. You got closing costs. And if a house requires renovations, you're probably going to need to chip in for that as well. So it can be quite expensive in terms of high upfront costs. And it does require, therefore, a significant financial commitment, including the down payment, closing costs, and other associated fees. This obviously large amount of money can limit your liquidity. You may have to drain your reserves, and so it affects your liquidity and your ability to diversify your portfolio. You're going to put a lot of money towards the house. Another drawback is obviously owning real estate is that you're going to have a commitment to the property that you're buying, especially if you intend to hold it. Real estate is not liquid as much as like securities or checking account. It takes time to offload and to sell the property. So there is a greater level of commitment that's required if you're going to go that way. Unlike renting or buying a property ties up your capital for an extended period of time, which can have some disadvantages, especially in the volatile type environment or market that you're in. So changing personal circumstances, you may not be able to just sell the house in a snapshot and just buy something else. It takes time. You may not be able to sell it, especially if you don't have the money to fix it up and so forth. So also property ownership comes with ongoing responsibilities, such as things like maintenance, repairs, and property management, which can be time consuming and can be costly. And obviously there are market risks associated with owning property. So, investors who buy real estate, for long-term purposes are at peace with that. I'm at peace with that. That's some of the downsides, but, to me, the upside, far exceeds, far is much greater than the downside. So that's the reason why I decided I want to just continue. Next thing we're going to talk about is what I call strategic resource allocation, which is how best to deploy your limited money. You got some money, hopefully. So what's the best way to deploy that? Should you, buy properties with that, or do you just save money and rent rent and things like that? So how do you deploy your limited resource? That's what we're going to cover right now. So really, strategic resource allocation, involves things like determining the best use of your available capital to achieve the desired investment goals that you want. Okay. And so what does that mean? For real estate investors, it means deciding how much to invest in renting or in buying. Okay. This, it requires, I think, some analysis on your part, how much to invest. And, there are a lot of calculators out here, rent versus buy, Burr calculators, flip there's a whole bunch of different calculators out here that you may want to use that will help you determine the return on your money, how much money is required, and so forth and so on. So you should also consider your cash flow needs, and your liquidity requirements. How much cash are you looking to gain each month, and how much money do you want to set aside for a rainy day? That will determine how much or if you should buy or you should rent. So renting can provide immediate rental income, obviously, with lower initial investments, while buying ties up more capital, but offers more long-term gains. So what you need to consider is to analyze the pros and cons of both, analyze the cash flow projections and financial forecasts, and then from that you can sort of figure out what's the best use of your limited monies that you have. Okay, so that's what I mean by strategic asset or strategic resource allocation. So again, if you got some questions, please put in the chat box, and I'll definitely get to them very, very shortly. And so finally, we're kind of going to talk about some of the lessons learned. I'm always into lessons learned from successful and some unsuccessful investors as it pertains to buying versus renting. Okay, so the question is, what lessons can be learned from investors who have successfully and unsuccessfully navigated renting and buying strategies? So what have other people done that have faced the same issues, same problems? Okay, so what can we learn from those folks? Well, learning from the experience of others, other investors, it really provides valuable insights into effective strategies and some common pitfalls. Okay, so successful investors often emphasize the importance of thorough research and due diligence. You need to do the research, make sure that you're buying in the right place that makes the most sense for you based on your exit strategy, whether it be cash flow or appreciation. Are you in the right market? Are jobs coming in or leaving that area where you're buying? Is there a demand for a rental accommodation? Is there a demand? All these things is research. And then when you got a deal, you want to do your due diligence to make sure it is a good deal. Make sure that what the seller is saying is in fact true, what the wholesaler is saying is in fact true, that the cash flow that you think you're going to get, you're going to get. The rents that you think you're going to get, you're going to get. I mean, there's a house condition. Is the roof caving in? Is there a lot of deferred maintenance? These are some of the things to consider as part of your due diligence. Decide whether to pull the trigger on this property or another property. But you want to avoid, so was it analysis paralysis? That's it. Where all you're doing is just research, but not actually doing anything. So you want to avoid that one. So also you want to do successful successful real estate investors do is understand the local market that they're in, the property condition of the asset that they're buying, and also the financial implications of making that decision, whether to pull the trigger or not, because these all factors matter. And so investors who have navigated challenges often highlight the importance of flexibility and also adaptability. I mean, the market's changing. What's happening, what worked 3 months ago may not work today. What worked 6 months ago may not work today. So you have to be agile. You have to be able to adapt and be flexible, given the realities that we're in. The market may turn on you, and therefore you can't execute plan A. You may have to go to plan B or plan C. Okay, so market conditions and personal circumstances can change, and being able to adjust strategies accordingly, I think it's key to long-term success. Conversely, unsuccessful investors frequently point to things like over leveraging, taking on too much debt and getting crushed by debt. Lack of liquidity is also, so wherefore if something happens, they're just not ready. They're unprepared to take advantage or to cover it. And so also inadequate financial planning. They just rushed into something without thinking about the consequences, making sure they have the resources and availability. Taking on too much debt, I think I've talked about that one. It's a lot of people, when the market turns on you, it's the debt that crushes them. And so, in general, it's best to maintain a conservative approach to borrowing and building strong financial reserves that will help you to survive market downturns, which will occur. Okay, so in conclusion, kind of wrap it up. The question becomes, how can mastering renting and buying strategies transform your real estate investment approach? So now I've provided you with the information. The question is, what are you going to do? What makes the most sense for you? Okay, so mastering the strategies that we've discussed in terms of renting versus buying can transform your real estate investment approach by providing you with a comprehensive understanding of the benefits and drawbacks of each option. There are advantages and disadvantages of each. Now I've shared with you some of those, so now you're in a position to make a decision what makes the most sense for you. So by evaluating things like market conditions, financial goals, investment timelines, investors like you and I can make informed decisions that optimize our portfolio and hopefully enhance your financial stability and your financial goals, whatever they may be. So successful real estate investors invest and require a balanced approach, incorporating both renting and buying, I think. Based on your situation, that makes the most sense for you. So by strategically allocating your resources, you can kind of achieve a mix of flexibility and also immediate income. So you want to learn from the experience of others and avoid common pitfalls and mistakes. It will also further enhance your likelihood of success. So I think, so hopefully today I provided enough content, in-depth material that will help you make decisions, and hopefully it was helpful. And so with that said and done, I think I'm going to kind of, again, if you got some questions, please put in the chat box, and I'll do my best to answer them. If you want to shoot me an email, you can always shoot me an email at joe@joeasamoah.com, joe@joeasamoah.com. And also, if you want to book a one-on-one with me, if you've got some questions, issues, challenges, concerns, something that's, keeping you up at night, please book a one-on-one with me where we can go a deep dive. And hopefully I can provide you with a perspective and, that you may or may not have thought about. And we'll kind of work through each of those options and hopefully allow you to get unstuck and continue on your real estate investment journey. So with that said and done, let's go to the Q&A. Let's have a look. What do we have here? We have Ron. Are you live? Yes, I am. I'm on. And so on. Greetings from Phoenix, Dr. Doe, Dow 2. Hey, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. Yes, I can hear you good. Let's have financial firefighter. Did I? Yeah, so I don't know if we haven't connected yet. So aloha from Hawaii, and I definitely would like to try to connect with you. Financial firefighter. And Hector. Hey, Hector. How you doing? Hector, I think, is local in the Virginia area, having high income prices. Okay, having high income prices, how you create more cash flow to be attractive at the time of refinance and meet their requirements the bank have. Okay, I'm trying to see if I understand this one. So you got having high home prices. So you're in an expensive market. I think you're in Northern Virginia. How do you create more cash flow to be attractive at the time of refinance and meet the requirements of the bank? Okay, I think I got your question. So you're in a high price market like I'm in, the DC area, the DMV as we call it. How do you get more cash flow? Well, the way I do it is go with Section 8, because in Section 8, the rent that you get is based on two things. It's based on the location where the property is, and also the number of bedrooms that the property has. So you and I, Hector, can buy the same house. If you keep it as a 3-bedroom, for example, you'll get the 3-bedroom rent. If I can add another bedroom, I can get a 4-bedroom rent, which is higher than the 3. If I can add 2 more bedrooms, I can get a 5-bedroom, which is higher than the 4 and higher than 3. If I can add 6 bedrooms, i.e. 3 more bedrooms compared to the original, I can now get the 6-bedroom rents, which is higher than the 5, which is higher than the 4, which is higher than 3. So hopefully this is making sense. You're able to get more cash flow by adding more bedrooms. That's how the Section 8 works. And that's the reason why I do it. So, for example, recently, or myself or some of my students, they bought 3 or 4 bedroom homes, and they've turned those homes into 5 and 6 bedrooms. And therefore, they've taken an asset that otherwise would be negative cash flow and turn it around to break even or positive. Now, you're not going to be able to make gazillions of dollars, because that's just not the way it is, given the fact that the market is so expensive. However, if you take a long-term view, whereby you just want to own the asset and take advantage of some of the benefits that I've talked about today of ownership, including appreciation and equity buildup, then as long as your cash flow needs are being met elsewhere, because you won't be making it through this asset. You're not going to make you quit your job or whatever you're doing with $300-400 a month cash flow. You're not. So those needs that you have to pay your electric bill, light bills, food, transportation, that has to be met somewhere else. You're not going to get it through this house. And so if you have a strategy whereby you've got other sources of income, whether it be a job or whatever, then it gives you the cushion to decide whether to buy something. And as time goes by, you can increase the rents. As I said before, when I first bought my first house, I think I was making, after all is said and done, $50 worth of cash flow. That was it. And most people would have said that, why are you buying this house? $50? And I had tenants from hell, all for $50 if all the stars were aligned. But I stuck with it. Fast forward to today. I mean, it's a number of years, but that $50 is now $4,500. The asset that I bought is now worth, $700,000 when I bought it for $50,000, for example. So again, it's not to brag, because that's not necessary. It's just that if I had not bought that house, because I wasn't making any cash flow at the time, then I wouldn't realize the benefits of that real estate has allowed. So sometimes it just makes sense. If you are of the mindset that you just want to hold, then you want to just have the asset pay for itself, get a little bit of cash flow, but hopefully anyway, you can hold on to that asset and get the benefits of long-term appreciation, equity build-up, and so forth. So that's a quick answer, Hector, of how I do it. When I buy in markets like we are here in the DC area, which is expensive, and how do I get cash flow, and how am I able to refinance and pull equity and therefore continue building a portfolio. I do that by buying strategically in certain neighborhoods, updating the houses to get more rent, which then allows me to cash flow, which then allows me the opportunity to hold on to the house. So I hope that was helpful, Hector. And but if I haven't answered, please put some more comments in the chat box. I think I did. If you got some questions, please put them in. Use the chat box, and I'll do the best that I can. The market's kind of funny these days. It's still expensive. I don't see too much of prices going down. Not in the DC area anyway. It's kind of weird. Interest rates are still high. But for a long-term perspective, which is what I do, I'm not really being affected. Every house I have, I get a lot of applications. I'm not looking for appreciation. Looking for turnover. But if and when they occur, I'm not having a problem renting the property, which means that there's a lot of people looking. And if you got a good product in a good area, you can still attract good quality tenants. And and so on. That's about it. So again, if you got some questions, please put it in the chat box. Otherwise, I'm going to wrap it up a little early today. And it's been a good session about renting versus buying, and hopefully, it's been food for thought for you to consider what makes the most sense for you. So with that said, my friends, I'm going to wrap it up. Again, if you got some questions about, that you feel like I can help you with, you can shoot me an email at joe@joeasamoah.com, joe@joeasamoah.com, or you can book a one-on-one meeting with me where we can go through this in more detail, an issue, concerns that you have, a challenge that you're experiencing. Maybe it could be a tenant from hell that you have, or a difficult lender or a difficult contractor, or you're trying to figure out what to buy, where to buy, and do some analysis. These are things which I can help you with. So feel free to book, and I'll do the best that I can to work with you. So one-on-one, you'll have my undivided attention, and let's see what we can do. So with that said, my friends, I hope to see you soon as well. I hope to meet you soon. Vic, I know we're trying to do a Zoom call at one time, but hopefully our paths will cross, and maybe one of the next events that I do here in the DC area, and so on. So with that said, my friends, let's wrap it up, and I'll see you next Wednesday. I will be going on vacation very shortly. I'm going to Tanzania. I'm going to Uganda, and I'm stopping through Kenya as well. So I'm going to East Africa. We're going on a safari in the Serengeti, and we're also going to Zanzibar. It's a very nice resort, I suppose, on the East African coast. And going to do some relaxing. I'll be gone for 3.5 weeks, so looking forward to that vacation. With that said, my friends, I will wrap it up, and I'll see you next Wednesday. Have a great evening.